Hello class, today we're going to be talking about 8-8 difference of squares. And if you look here, we have a little formula for you. A squared minus b squared equals a plus b times the point of a minus b. And notice it says difference of squares. We can only apply this formula when we're subtracting in the middle. And you'll see in the first two examples we're subtracting. And we have to have two squares that we can find the square root of. And so if we look at this first example, we're going to go ahead and rewrite it kind of like this. So we have our parentheses. We need to find what squared equals 16h squared. So what times itself equals 16? 4. What times itself equals h squared? H. And then we got to put our squared out here. So we just changed the way we wrote it. 4h squared is the same thing as 16h squared. And then we're going to subtract what times itself equals 9? 3. What times itself equals a squared? We get a. And so now we're right here. And we're going to rewrite it like this. The quantity of a plus b times the quantity of a minus b. So we got to remember a is our 4h. So we have 4h. And then we're going to add b, which is 3a. And then really we're just going to rewrite it, but have a subtract in the middle. So 4h minus 3a. So we factor it out by taking the square root, if they're a perfect square, squaring them, and then rewrite it using the formula a plus b times the quantity of a minus b. We get 4h plus 3a times the quantity of 4h minus 3a. And then let's go ahead and look at the second example. What times itself equals 64? We get 8. What times itself equals g squared? We get g. And then we're going to subtract what times itself equals h squared. We just get h. Now we're going to rewrite it using our formula. So we have the quantity of 8g plus h, and then rewrite it the exact same but subtract in the middle, times the quantity of 8g minus h. So difference of squares, we're subtracting in the middle. We have two squares so we can find a perfect square root. Once we rewrite it, we use the formula, and we do a plus b times the point of a minus. Go ahead and look at this third example. It looks fairly easy, but there's going to be a little step at the end that's kind of make it a little bit different. So we have b to the fourth power minus 16. So we need to write it like this. What times itself equals b to the fourth power? We get b squared. So b squared is the same thing as b to the fourth power. Minus what times itself gives us 16? We get 4 squared. Now we need to rewrite it. So we get b squared plus 4 times the quantity of b squared minus 4. Now remember, we can only apply this when we're subtracting in the middle. Well, if you look in our answer, we can actually apply it again because we have b squared minus 4. So let's go ahead and write the b squared plus 4 because we can't do anything with it. And we can actually rewrite this as b squared minus 2 squared. And so when we apply this here, we get b plus 2 times the quantity of b minus 2. And so this would be our answer right in here. We couldn't do anything with it because we're adding in the middle. And then here, we applied what we did here again, and we got b plus 2 times the quantity of b minus 2. In this fourth example, we're going to go ahead and solve it. And we're going to solve for when y equals 0. So we can go ahead and apply it. What times itself gives us x squared? We get x. And this is where it becomes a little tricky. We have a fraction. Now remember, we're just going to find the square root of the top and the bottom. But what times itself gives us 9? We get 3. And then what times itself gives us 16? We get 4. So we just read as 3/4 squared. And so now we're going to put it as a plus b times the quantity of a minus b. So we get x plus 3/4 times the quantity of x minus 3/4. So now if we're solving, we want to set y equal to 0. So we need to make sure that we can solve for x and make each one of these 0. So we'll write as the equation x plus 3/4 equals 0, and the other one is x minus 3/4 equals 0. We got to move the 3/4 over, so we subtract it. And so we get x equals negative 3/4. That's one answer. And then here we're going to add 3/4. So we get x equals positive 3/4. Just like we've been doing in the past. Write out our two equations, set them equal to 0, and get the variable. Okay, this is the last example before y'all get started on the practice problems. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging, so stick with me. So the first thing we want to do is we want to group it to two separate parts. And so then we can factor out an m squared. And so we get m squared times what will give us 2m cubed, we get 2m. And then m squared times what will give us m squared, we get plus 1. And then here we can factor out a negative 25. So minus 25. Negative 25 times what will give us 50m, we get 2m. And then negative 25 times what will give us negative 25, and there's just a plus 1. And so just like we were doing the other day, combine these. And so we get m squared minus 25, and then times the quantity of 2m plus 1. Okay? We can't do anything with this one because we're adding in the middle, but here we're subtracting. What times what will give us m squared? M. And then what times what will give us 25? And that's 5. And don't forget about this part right here. We'll just add that on at the end. And so we can rewrite this as m plus 5 times m minus 5, and then we'll add in our 2m plus 1. So factoring it out, we'll group them, and then just factor out what we can, and then we'll apply this if we can. So here we're subtracting, so we could, and then we got m plus 5 times the quantity of m minus 5 times 2m plus. Here are your 3 practice problems from tonight's video. What you'll do is just factor out on 1, 2, and 3, just using that formula that we had gone over in the beginning.